So back in 2019, I invested in the consulting accelerator program with Sam Ovens. Okay, that $1,500 investment was pivotal in winning that 2 Comma Club award and creating a product called the Super Affiliate Accelerator, which still sells today and is closing in on $2 million in course/coaching sales. Okay, recently Sam came out with a new program, a new mastermind course, whatever you want to call it. We're going to touch on that in this video, called WeTube. Okay, and what WeTube is all about is really building out an ecosystem to sell 1 or 2 mastermind programs using YouTube ads, YouTube organic, and email marketing to generate traffic. Okay, I jumped into that program over the weekend, about 4 days ago from the time of filming this, and wanted to share with you my initial thoughts. Okay, so I've made a bunch of notes on the computer. We're going to jump into it. I'm going to tell you what it is, why I decided to jump into it, who I think it would be a good fit for, and a number of my initial takeaways. I'm also going to walk you through the back office so that you can see it and get a bit of a feel for what it's all about, and hopefully it will bring you some value. If it's something you've been thinking about, it might help you decide if it's worth you jumping in or not. And then as I continue to go through the program throughout the year, because it's a year-long program, I'll give you guys updates on my results with it, what I'm liking about it, if there's anything that I don't like about it, all that kind of stuff. So I'll make it a bit of an ongoing process throughout the year on the channel here, and hopefully you take some value away from it. So let's jump into the computer. I'm going to walk you through all of my notes, and we'll rock and roll on WeTube with Sam Ovens, and he's partnered with a dude named Brian Moncada. Okay, before we jump into it, if you haven't already, subscribe, give the video a like, check out that first link in the description. You can see what we're all about, helping folks build out their information ecosystems to $30,000 to $100,000 per month. If you head over to jacobcaris.com, you can find out all the information about my private community, our programs. You can join the email newsletter. All that kind of information is over there. But with that all out of the way, let's jump into the computer and go through this stuff. Cheers. All right, folks, so let's dive right into it. So as I said, I've created some notes here that we're going to walk through around my initial thoughts since jumping into WeTube, which is primarily run by Sam Ovens, but he's partnered with a guy named Brian Moncada, who provides the advice and the guidance to the community, particularly around YouTube ads. He runs a company called adspend.com, and he is involved in this program. Okay, just got a little picture up there that's from the video when Sam launched it. All right, so let's get into it here. So what is WeTube? All right, so it's some kind of combination of a course, group coaching, a mastermind. There's a couple of different names you could put on it. Sam's calling it a mastermind. We're going to touch on this a little bit in the video. I don't really care what it's called. I don't really care what you want to label it. All I really care about is the training, who's in the community, is there value in the community, who's running the calls, and who can I get support and assistance from. Whatever label you want to chuck on it, I don't really care. Okay, and it's all about building out a high-ticket info marketing ecosystem. Okay, in particular, one that leverages YouTube ads, YouTube organic, and email marketing. Okay, and this is a key reason as to why I jumped in, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. All right, they help you with building out 1 to 2 mastermind programs. Okay, but essentially having either a single or a double product stack that you monetize. They recommend the front end one be in the 5 to 10K range and the back end one be in the 20 to 40K range. Okay, just to give you guys some context. All right, there's currently 180 members in there, literally at the time that I filmed this, and Sam has said that it's going to be capped at 360. Okay, I don't know if this is a coincidence. I'm pretty sure it's not a coincidence, but the investment, as you can see there, is just under 10 grand, 360 people. They also have their back-end program, which is called Quantum, which is capped at 100 people and is 36 grand. So bit of symmetry there. I'm sure that's not a coincidence. Means that both their front-end and their back-end program are contributing pretty much equally to their revenue split, 3.6 million each, 7 million, just over 7.2 million in total. Okay, so I thought that was an interesting dynamic in their pricing / volume on the front end and their back end program, Quantum. Okay, key components to it: there's a 6-week course, there's a community on a platform that Sam has built called School. All right, and I'm going to show you through that in a second. And then there's 2 weekly Zoom calls. Okay, Sam isn't on those calls. He was for the beta program, which was launched back in May, but he's not anymore. He's just involved in the back end program. Some people may not like that. I don't really care. Brian's got a hell of a lot of experience with YouTube ads, and I had the pleasure of chatting to Sam's COO on my call on Saturday, and he's a really nice guy, and I'm sure he's got plenty of experience and is able to help out all of the students, and Sam's overseeing everything. Okay, so I don't see that as an issue at all. And I also understand from the perspective of being a product creator, you can't be involved in every program because otherwise you just run out of time, right? Sam's time needs to be allocated to Quantum, which is their back-end program, and he builds a team that can help him in running other programs, all right? As someone who's built their own multi-seven-figure information business, I totally understand that. Doesn't bother me in the slightest, but I know some people would go, well, it's 10 grand a year, why isn't Sam on the calls? That's the reason. Right? You have to build out team to help you if you want to hit certain levels, okay? And as I said, $9,800 per year investment. I'm sure they do payment plans. I just did the pay in full and get it all done, and it's an annual investment, okay? So you get access for a full year. All right, so how I joined, this is real simple. A little bit of a backstory. I applied, this video you can see up here, I applied back in May when they launched it, and I got accepted. It was quite a lengthy kind of application process. They wanted to review all your socials and stuff like that. I believe you've got to be making a minimum of 10K per month if you want to join. They mentioned that to me on the call, which obviously we're well and truly past that, but just to keep in mind if you're thinking about it. After I applied and got accepted back in May, business and life got in the way. I had a really busy period over the middle of the year, both in the business and outside the business. And then a couple of weeks ago, was back in the office. Things were calming down a little bit, and reached back out and got in touch. Had a call with them over the weekend and jumped in on the 13th of August. Okay, so that's kind of the little bit of an intro. All right, now let's just talk about why I decided to join. Okay, so as I mentioned in the introductory video, I had a lot of success with Sam Ovens' Consulting Accelerator program back in 2019, right? This was really the program that put Sam on the map in a big way. He sold a ton of it, and it was a truly, truly amazing product. It was so comprehensive, so detailed. There was a lot in there. Every tiny little piece of building out the machine was covered, and it was like a work of art for the nerds in the information marketing space. Okay, and I used that to launch my Super Affiliate Accelerator program, and that's the 2 Comma Club award. You can see done well over 1.5 million, closing in on 2 million in sales at the time of filming this. So I'd had a really good experience with Sam and Sam's team, going through that and getting a ton of results. Okay, and just to sidetrack real quick, that's going to be one of the best sales hacks you can ever come across, is if you give people a really good experience and help them get results, upselling them or reselling them into something else is going to be really, 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 really simple. Okay, you won't need any fancy funnels, you won't need any fancy videos or fancy sales scripts or anything like that. If they've had a good experience with you before, right? I spent half the time on my call with Sam's right-hand man talking about wine, right? We both discovered that we like wine. We were chatting about that. I was sold, right? Asked him a couple of questions just to understand it in a little bit more detail, but I was sold because of the experience that I'd had with Sam previously. So as you're building out your programs, keep that in mind. That will make upselling, cross-selling, whatever it is you want to do, a hell of a lot easier if people have come through a program with you before and had a good experience. So long-term, keep that in mind, right? It's a bit of a segue, but jumping back into this. Okay, the other reason that I wanted to join was because a few months before I saw Sam put out the video about WeTube, I'd been developing and refining this approach in my head or this strategy, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, in my head around building out ecosystems. And that's what we're really moving towards helping our clients do for a number of reasons, some of which we'll touch on in this video. And so when I saw that he was releasing a program that really lent into that concept, one, I was happy that him and I are thinking about things on a similar level in terms of where the industry's going and where you ultimately want to take things. And two, I wanted to see his take on it, right? I want to see his take on building these ecosystems and what he thought you needed and what he thought you didn't need, and just hearing his take on it generally. I mean, someone with his experience in the industry, they scaled consulting.com up to, I think, about 36 million a year, have scaled it all the way back down. He's been through a hell of a lot. Right. And so being able to pay in order to hear someone's take on a concept, right, that I've been kind of developing and refining in my own head before I even saw that, that's invaluable as far as I'm concerned. Okay. The other thing I really like about Sam's approach is he deploys this like what I call a lens of simplicity, right? He just really simplifies things down and has this ability to eliminate all of the kind of superfluous and unnecessary crap and just keep the stuff you need. All right. This is also really congruent. I just finished reading, and I'm going to do a separate video on this. I just finished reading a book recommendation from him called Essentialism. Really good book. Would suggest you read it. And it talks about exactly that. Right, eliminating the unnecessary stuff and just keeping the critically important pieces. And so Sam has this ability to, in his programs, look at all the stuff that you could have and distill it down to the important stuff. Okay, so being able to see his view on that, particularly around this broader strategy, really valuable in my opinion. Okay, I'm a coach and a mentor to a lot of people in the space as well. People pay me for my advice and my experience based on the things that I've been able to achieve, the affiliate awards that I've been able to win, the information and coaching business that I've been able to build. So I want to continue to develop my, skills, strategies that are in my portfolio, the wisdom that I'm able to provide to my people, and just become a more valuable leader. And me continuing to invest in my own skills and my own knowledge and my own resources is going to trickle down and help them out, right? So that's another reason to keep doing it, right? We're strategically aligned on leveraging high ticket continuity, right? So, programs that are 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 per month, right? And the benefits that can provide from an offer strategy perspective and also from a cash flow, flattening perspective, right? Predictability of your cash flow. Really aligned on that. So I wanted to see, how they're leveraging that, the strategies that they're using around that. We're currently on a big push, right, to continue to diversify lead flow sources from about 2018 until 2000 and really last year into 2020 as well, going back into 2020. The majority of my business was built on organic marketing with a heavy tilt towards Facebook. We've done extremely well with it and we've helped a lot of people with that. But as the business continues to move forward, I want to keep diversifying our lead sources and lead flow strategies. And so we still use Facebook and it's still a key piece of it, but keeping on adding those other components in addition to Facebook to reduce platform risk, which comes up when you're concentrated on any one platform. And so, this program being around YouTube ads, YouTube organic, and email marketing is really congruent with that push. Okay, I like the idea of combining YouTube organic and YouTube ads, and there's a nuance here to how they do it, which I think is really cool, and we're going to talk about that. When I saw the video released to launch WeTube, Sam mentioned Brian Moncada as being the YouTube ads guy, so I went and did some research on Brian. He's got a very impressive client profile. I watched some of his content. I really liked it. Very chilled out guy. I even shot him a message on Facebook and he hit me back, which is cool. And he's obviously got a hell of a lot of YouTube ads expertise. I also like that Sam is kind of acknowledging, this guy's the expert, so I'm going to bring him in and you guys can talk to him, which I think is fantastic. And Brian's on 2 calls a week, so being able to pick his brain is super valuable, given I want to keep going further and further with YouTube ads. Okay, and then beyond all that, right? Like for me in my business, one client, and I'm in the green on this investment. One client. You can look at this in one of 2 ways. You can look at $9,800 in isolation and go, oh, it's nearly 10 grand. Depending on your, relationship with money and how flush you are, that may be a lot of money or not. But absent that, if you're in the business of selling high ticket stuff, it's going to be one or a couple of clients and you're in the green. So in order to, get access to all of, these or for all of these reasons plus more, and all I need to be able to extract from it is enough information and guidance and strategy and network value and resource value to get one client and you're in the green. That to me is like an absolute no-brainer. Like how can you not make at least one sale with the new information that you're going to acquire? Learning from someone with Sam's experience and his team and Brian being in the equation. it's a no-brainer to me, right? It's literally one client, okay? For someone starting from absolute scratch, it might be harder to kind of comprehend that value lens, but that's how I look at things, right? That's how I've always applied my kind of lens in terms of investing, is like, what's it going to take for me to get an ROI on this? And it's one client, okay? I think you guys get the point on that. So with that all said, who is this for and who is it not for? You need to be prepared to invest in ads. How much? I'm going to talk about that in a second. I don't think this is for someone who needs hand holding, right? There's, as I said, there's 180 people in there. They're going to take it up to 360. If you feel like you need to be treated kind of special and need someone holding your hand every single step of the way, and don't like being part of big groups and are afraid to jump on group calls and are stressed out about asking questions in groups, which all that stuff is totally fine. This isn't going to be for you, because you need to be able to get involved in a group, network, ask questions, not be afraid of, if you ask the wrong question, all that kind of stuff, right? And I know some people out there want more tailored feedback, and more one-to-one coaching. So this definitely isn't going to be for them. Okay. I think it's for people who need to be like ready to implement, and test. They're not going to hold your hand every step of the way. They're going to give you the strategies. They're going to give you the tactics. Then it's up to you to go out and implement them and come back with, well, I tried this and this is what happened. So where do you think I should take it from here? Right? It's really not going to be for people who just want to sit and talk about theory in circles. Okay. Because I think there's a lot of limits to that. Right. I think if it's somebody who values results over quote unquote stuff, right? As you're going to talk about in a second, the course is pretty brief. All right, I'm going to go in deeper on that in a second. And so if you need to justify to yourself, to your husband, to your wife, to your dog, that you need a lot of stuff in order to spend 10 grand, this one's probably not going to be for you, right? But if you can deploy this value lens instead of how many videos do I get and how long are the videos, it probably is, right? And that's going to be okay with some people, and it's not going to be okay with some people, all right? I think it's for somebody who really wants to build out that brand ecosystem like I've been talking about, and in particular wants to accelerate it with ads. And as I said, has the right value lens so that they can see that, a couple of clients and you're in the green. You'll probably do a hell of a lot more than that if you actually take the information and use it. But I don't think it's going to be for someone who needs like 800,000 hours of content in order to feel warm and fuzzy about what they've purchased. All right. So hopefully that sets the scene nicely. That's kind of why I joined, how I joined, all that kind of stuff, who I think it's for. Now I want to jump into my my initial thoughts. Cool. So let's go through some of my initial thoughts. The first thing I want to do is I want to walk you through the school platform. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the modules and stuff like that. That's all proprietary IP as part of the program. But I just want to show you what it looks like so that you can get a bit of a feel for it. A few comments. It's a really slick platform. It's really cool. I'm going to have a chat to their team about how we might potentially be able to integrate it into what we do. What I really like is that all of this stuff is in one place. Right? So we've got our process and system, what we call our delivery asset, really dialed. Kajabi gets unlocked. People get added to the community. We've got onboarding. It's all there. It's sweet. But what I really liked about this is I was on the call with them and they're like, okay, I'm just going to unlock the program in your school account. I already had one because I had Consulting Accelerator, and like one click, boom, everything's unlocked. The content, the community, the call calendar, you're plugged into the network so that you can chat with people. I actually shot Sam a message and he hit me back once I joined, and I just think that's amazing. That like one click, boom, everything's together. The community's here, the training's here. Love it. I think it's really, really cool. And I think it'll only get better because it is still a relatively new platform. So let's pull that up and have a quick look. So when you join, this is what you're kind of presented with. So you can see here's the community thread, right? You've got people here introducing themselves, people asking questions. You can see up here kind of the highlights, so that they call them the collab call. There's 2 of those a week. So the next one's happening in 3 days. You can come up here, write a post, and title, details. You can attach links, videos, polls, all that kind of stuff, and then select a category. So this is the community, and then you can see people responding. It's very organized. It's very clean. I really like it. You can also see there's a bit of kind of gamification going on over here. People who are really actively involved, which is cool. Then you jump over to here, and you've got the course, right, which sits alongside it. So you've got 6 weeks. You've got week 1 on the model, the offer, and mindset. right? And so you can see just bang, 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 bang. One big difference here is for anyone that went through Consulting Accelerator, which I'll see if I can pull that up here. This was a lot different in terms of the length of content. So again, it was a 6-week program. There was a bonus 7th week. But you can see the length of these videos, right? Like 2.5 hours, 1.5 hours, 1 hour 20, 1 hour 10, 1 hour 50. The content was a lot longer, right? And I really loved it. It didn't bother me, but I know from talking to a lot of people that it was just like too much for them to get through. And I remember seeing Sam saying in videos, like, if you can't get through those videos, you're never going to be able to build a business, which I can kind of appreciate. But he's obviously changed his tune and he's taking a lot more kind of direct approach, a lot less formal, using models like this and just a lot of Google Docs, kind of like I've done here, right? A lot of the content is done like this, key bullets, action items, boom, go do this. So it's a lot more direct, okay? So you've got week 1's all about kind of the high level, the model, the offer, the mindset. Then it goes into launching, running a beta, and sales training, the behind the scenes of running a mastermind, front-end masterminds, back-end masterminds, the overall approach, masterminds versus courses, all of that kind of jazz. Then it goes into the funnels, the email approach, YouTube organic. Then you've got the deep dive on ads, which is run with Brian, and then the operational stuff, which is run by Sam's right-hand man, Jesse. So that's the content that sits alongside it. And what this is really there for, as I kind of view it, is this is a common kind of guide and curriculum for all the people that are in the community to follow along with, which gives context to the masterminding and the discussion. Okay, so that's that piece, and then you come over here and you can see the calendar and all of the calls are plugged in here. You just come in, click on the call, jump onto Zoom, it adjusts it for your time zone, all that kind of stuff, and then you've got leaderboards, which is all about the gamification piece that I mentioned before. Some people like that, some people won't. It doesn't do a hell of a lot for me, but I can understand why they want the engagement and to really drive involvement. Okay, I think some people will like that as a feature. All right, so that's kind of behind the scenes. I'm not going to go any deeper than that because I don't want to share the stuff that you ultimately need to pay for. But really cool platform. Okay, so now let's jump into some of my observations from I've been in there kind of 4 or 5 days at this point. All right, first one is, as I said, it's a big change in content approach from Sam Ovens. Shorter videos, Google Docs instead of these big, long presentations, much more to the point. As someone who's busy running my own business, I appreciate this. I loved Consulting Accelerator and loved all of that content, but I do appreciate the more direct approach as well. I think it fuels implementation rather than just learning, right? I think that's a good move in the right direction. I want to take a moment on this next one, which is this mastermind versus course debate, right? And you could even put versus group coaching in here as another element. I remember when he launched the video for this. If you want some free comedy, sometimes it's good to look at the comments on YouTube videos that are getting a lot of views and a lot of interaction and seeing what people say. And I remember reading a couple of comments on there, people saying, it just sounds like a course that you're now charging 10 grand a year for. And I kind of get their point, right? Like, it's fundamentally the structure isn't too different, right? The main way that these group programs have been run for a very long time now is 3 key elements: course, community, weekly calls, right? I think the distinction is that a course is very static, right? Whereas where they're going to take this is it's going to be a lot more dynamic, and they're going to update it and change direction and all that kind of stuff. At least that's the impression that I get. But as I said off the top, right, I can understand why kind of Sam's rolling with this angle of masterminds, because it's a new opportunity vehicle. That's the marketing strategy behind it, and it's very smart in that regard. And it's just funny seeing people get kind of up in arms about it. I really don't give a shit what it's called, right? You can call it, it doesn't matter. All I care about is what's the content, who's in there, who's there to help, right? And is it going to help me on towards my goals, right? Is it going to help me with the reasons that I mentioned above? Slap whatever label on it you want. I don't really care. Okay, so I'll let you make up your own mind. I thought I'd include this, which is kind of their comments around masterminds versus other stuff, right? Courses, group coaching, whatever you want to call it. That might give some more clarity as to why they're kind of rolling with this mastermind angle. So he's saying here, masterminds typically value doing over teaching. That's congruent with the reduction in content length, right? That's a clear reflection of that. Individuals and interactions versus processes and tools. Again, putting the community at the forefront. And this is a big shift for Sam, I think, because I remember going through Consulting Accelerator, and it was completely, process and tool driven. And it wasn't about interacting and networking and all that kind of stuff. So he's obviously undergone a lot of shifts in perspective about what he thinks is important, about where he thinks the industry is going. And some people will look at that and go, oh, well, he's changed. And, he's saying things that he used to say differently, and they'll get annoyed about it. People grow and change and their perspectives shift, right? He's obviously undergone a lot of life changes in terms of growing a massive company, realizing that's not what he wanted, scaling it back to something that's a lot smaller. They've got a team of 6, more profitable, a lot more remote, all that kind of stuff. He's got a kid now. It's different life phase. I think people get pulled over the coals in this online space because they say something once and then people expect that their opinions and perspectives are never going to change, which is just completely ridiculous, right? We grow, we evolve, we experience new things, and we need to be able to, through our products and services, which really are a creative outlet, we need to be able to adapt and change, right? So I'm all aboard with it. Okay. Results versus instructions. That part I love. I think that flows off, an implementation focus, right? The doing. That's really congruent with that. And responding to change versus following a plan. So I think that's the point I was making before about a course is like static, whereas where I think they're going to take this is really respond to what Sam sees in terms of changing with the market, but also changing based on feedback from the community. Are there particular roadblocks that they're seeing people hit over and over again? Is there something that they need to add? Is there something that they need to change? And really tapping into the network of 180 people, eventually 360 people, to help guide the direction of that, layering in his experience and what they're seeing in the market as well. Okay, so I think it's a bit more of a dynamic thing if you want to look for a bit of a distinction. But again, who really gives a shit what it's called, as long as it does what it says it does, which with Sam it will. All right. So what makes a great mastermind? I'm not going to read all this. You guys can read it. But that might give you some insights into kind of how they view it. All right, I've just sourced it. That's from the WeTube training. All right, number 3. Okay, the ecosystem compound effect. Right, I love this. I love this concept, and I love that they're talking about it in there. And I'm keen to continue to explore it as part of this program, in my own programs, on the calls with Sam's team and with Brian and co, in the community with the other people that are going through and building this. This is huge, if you ask me, right? This is massive to making sales happen a lot easier. We do things slightly differently to how they do them. We don't do strategy sessions. How strong of a content and a brand ecosystem you build can eliminate the need to jump on the phone for an hour because of the value you've provided people, because of how well pre-sold they've become. You can just run them through a quick application process, quick text, back and forth, send them over a doc, close the deal, right? So that ecosystem compounding effect is huge. I think in a world where, ad costs continue to rise, social media platforms can be volatile, you want this ecosystem where you can move people around, right? They can interact and learn from you in multiple different ways. One day they're reading an email, then they're seeing you on a Facebook feed, then they're watching you on YouTube, then they're getting remarketed with a lead magnet. And in that world, in your world, right, you're everywhere, okay? And you're moving people around, and each piece of content they see, every time you appear in front of them, they're nudging closer and closer and closer and closer to making a purchasing decision. Okay, it's really, really cool concept when you see it in full effect, and I'm excited to continue to keep exploring that. And from my initial kind of working through the training, I know this is going to be really, really helpful, both in the content and in the community piece, and working with the team on that. Okay, what I like about this approach is that everything fuels everything, and ultimately out the end is it spits more clients, right? Like they come out of the machine. So ads, word of mouth, organic marketing grows your list, right? The list you then use to move people around the ecosystem. So the list will grow your Facebook group, the list will grow your YouTube channel, the list will grow your Instagram or your podcast or whatever it is else that you're doing, right? And then all of that fuels new clients. New clients equal more results, more testimonials, which you use to create more content, be it paid or organic, which then fuels it even further. And that's how that compound effect really, really kicks in. So you're building that machine. So I think this is going to continue to become a really, really important piece of success in this info marketing game for people that want to be in it for the long term. And I think this course this program is really congruent with that approach. So excited to keep digging into that more and more, and you'll hear me talk about that more and more on the channel. That's what we help people with. Okay. I really like the long-term time horizon. Okay. So in talking about building out the 1 to 2 masterminds, Sam mentions, figuring out what your ultimate caps are, obviously being flexible that this stuff can change and evolve, but he's talking really long-term, like years, working through these 3 phases that I've mentioned here of a beta, where you bring in X people, then an aggressive growth over an extended period of time to fill it up to whatever that number is. And then you go into this adaptation phase, which is essentially once you've capped it out, you're continuing to improve it and you're replenishing anybody that drops out at the end of their annual period. But it's a super long-term approach. And this is something for me that I just keep going deeper and deeper on. A lot of my work with my mentor, Travis Sago, has been around this. And I have to say, every time I deploy a longer-term time horizon and I look for opportunities to extend my relationships with clients and just go deeper and deeper on long-term thinking, I enjoy it more. Stress levels come down, anxiety levels come down, and I just have a hell of a lot more fun in running the business. You think clearer, you make better decisions. And so I love that this is very long-term approach thinking, building out 1 or 2 programs that you're ultimately going to fill up and then just keep improving those and making them better and better and better and better in order to ultimately develop really long-term relationships with all of the members, right? Like I've got people who have worked with me since I started doing mentoring back in 2019. Right? Like they've signed up year after year after year after year. It's pretty rare in the internet marketing space. So I'm really excited that this program is congruent with that and thinking long-term. A lot of the leaders in the space are moving to more of this as well. I don't know if it's like because of, things being a little bit uncertain in the economy or whatever, but another guy I've seen pushing really to this super long-term approach is Taylor Welch, who actually worked with Sam back in the day, the traffic and funnels guy, or former traffic and funnels guy. He's talking about a 5-year horizon of working with him. So I think people are shifting from like these, 90-day sprints to building long-term relationships, helping people for the very, very long term. I think it's a great move based on my own personal experience. You need fewer clients, you can charge more, and it's just less headaches all around, and you get to go deeper with people, right? Develop really, really strong relationships, which, that's the real fun part for me. Okay. The number 5 that I've got here, there's a thing that they talk about in there, and I might do some future videos on this as I've got more chance to test them out, but called opportunity funnels. And I thought this was really cool, really simple, but really cool. And so effectively what this is, if you, as you're building up your community of people, be it for mastermind, group coaching, whatever you want to call it, paying attention to hot topics that you talk about with them that really light things up and they light up a discussion, right? I think I experienced this today. I had calls with 2 people, and at the end of our call, I showed them both this content strategy that I've been looking at, and they both, you could see it, like they were super pumped up by it. So I'm going to then take that and roll that out to my paid communities in time. And I think if that's anything to go by, that's going to be one of those hot topics, okay? And so then what you do is those hot topics, you create a value piece of content around and share that and actually give people value, and then flow that into an invitation to join your mastermind, right? That's just kind of an example of the stuff that we cover inside the mastermind. Would you be interested in applying to join? And you can do those whenever you stumble across one of these kind of hot topics, or using the hot topics that are already in there, then you create this really, really simple funnel that's just a video with the hot piece of content plus the invitation, and you do a heavy promo of it across your organic and your paid platforms to generate a big member influx, okay? Particularly powerful in the growth phase, right? When you're trying to get your mastermind or your program up to the caps. I think this is a really, really cool idea, and I like it. Sorry, it's my phone going off. Really cool idea, and I like that it's taking, feedback from your clients in real time, the stuff that gets them really excited, because if they're excited by it, there's a real chance the market will be excited by it. The example he provides was at the start of this year. He did a video about his plan for 2022, and he walked through what he called his big picture file. And it was actually similar to something that we do in our business as well. But he tested that first with his mastermind clients. They loved it. Then he took that, turned it into a video. The video walking through that ultimately flowed into an invitation to join their quantum mastermind. And with that, they filled it up 100 spots at 36K ahead, right? Or however many they needed to fill it. So that's a really cool, almost like a launch strategy. Even though it's not launching something new, it's like taking something and doing a short-term hard push based on something that's on trend or something that really excited people. So I'm going to keep exploring that more, but really interesting concept that I'm keen to test out. And I think will become even more effective once, you're deeper and deeper into the paid ads and you've got a remarketing audience that you can quickly get it in front of. All right. So we'll keep exploring that more. So stay tuned. Number 6, as I said, I like that there's these launch type strategies, but also blended in with evergreen. I've built my business in a big way on just consistent evergreen sales. For me, launching and generating those cash influxes should be the icing on the cake, not the core business. I have worked with a lot of people, done a lot of launches, and launches are intensive. Right, the amount of content and stuff that you need to create, the strain that it puts on your support systems and your delivery assets, it's heavy, right? So I'm more on like a steady evergreen approach, and then from time to time, you generate these influxes using those launch type strategies like that opportunity funnel. So I really like that, and excited to keep exploring that. And that's how they generate these waves of new students. Then slow back down to a more steady evergreen approach. Readjust, recalibrate everything, make sure it's going all good, and then you can boom, push again when you're good to go. Okay, so I think that's going to be interesting to keep exploring. Number 7, I mentioned this off the top. I alluded to it. I like the way that they're talking about using YouTube organic for nurturing versus raw lead generation, and let me explain what I mean by that. Okay, so the approach in this program is around running YouTube ads to grow a list, right? So you run the ad, obviously, to try to generate an application, and a client. That's the priority number 1. Reality is the majority of people aren't going to buy right away. What that means is, so let's say it's a 1% conversion rate. For every 100 people that you push through that funnel, you've now got 99 on your list, right? How they're pushing to use YouTube is as a tool to nurture those 99 people, to develop the relationship with those 99 people so that they have more of an affinity to the person that's emailing them, to the author of the emails, right? And I think that's really, really cool as opposed to just looking at YouTube as a raw lead generation strategy or traffic source. Okay, obviously it will, as it grows and as it compounds and as it gets more views, it's going to generate you leads, right? Like we have people approach us every day who find us on YouTube. That will happen. But I like that they're thinking about it as a nurturing tool. That's been quite illuminating for me. And how they're executing on that strategically or tactically is by creating this bit of a blue ocean where there's really this intersection of what your niche is interested in and what you're interested in. Okay, and really this just comes down to kind of the fundamentals of personal branding and letting people into who you are, right? And I do this a lot on Facebook. And have for a long time, and it's worked really well. And I need to keep pushing to let you guys more into what I'm kind of all about and what I like, so that you can see if we're aligned, and potentially I might be someone that you're interested in working with in the future. Okay, and so like, what are the things that you're interested in? So for me, outside of the business side of things, I love wine, I love travel, I love football, Australian football. You can go YouTube it if you don't know what that is. I'm really interested in business, in finance, in growth, in investing, all that kind of stuff. And so I need to find ways to keep weaving that in, because that's who I am and my personality and what I'm all about, right? And there's two kind of ways that I see that you can do that. One, you either weave it into the presentation of the niche content. Like if I'm showing you guys an offer, I can weave that type of content into that video, or you can do it as standalone, right? Like I could film you guys a video and you can let me know if you're interested. I can show you my wine collection, right? I've got 2 fridges in my apartment. And each bottle has a little bit of a backstory behind it, right? Like I've got a $900 bottle that my dude Jamie bought me when we hit $1 million working together, right? Like each one's got a story, and so it's kind of like collectibles for adults. But that's something that I'm interested in. So I could create standalone content like that. As I've said here, I don't think that's going to be algorithm perfect, right? YouTube might get a little bit confused if it's like, why is Jacob making videos about wine? I thought his channel was about information marketing. But because they're going more for the nurturing and not just raw lead generation, I don't think they care as much about it being perfectly algorithmically optimized, right? Just a nuance, but I think there's something in it that's really, really interesting, and we'll keep exploring it, and you guys will see it come to fruition on this channel. The final one is from what I've seen so far, I like the simplicity around YouTube ads. I've been through some other YouTube ads training before, and it just got mega complicated and just kind of honestly became a bit too much. We've done a lot of organic stuff, and I kind of just reverted back to that. So from what I've seen so far, looks pretty simple, and I'm going to keep exploring that around generating applications, building the list, and fueling the ecosystem. In terms of budget, I said I'd touch on this. What they're recommending is take the price of your program. So if you're selling a 5K program and you want that amount of budget as a minimum per month for 3 months. Okay, so if you're selling a 5K program, you'd want a 15K budget, right? That's what they're recommending. You can go lower, it just might take a little bit longer. Okay, so I need to keep going deeper and deeper on this and testing. So you guys might see more and more ads popping up. We're already rolling some, but that's just me been kind of experimenting. I'm going to go through their training step by step and follow it, and work with Brian and Co on the calls to get that really humming along nicely. All right, and that's really what I've got out of it so far. Reinforcing a lot of the things that I've been doing, confirming some of the things that I thought going into it. A couple of new things that I think are really interesting, particularly around these kind of launch strategies, this opportunity funnel, how they're using YouTube, and then definitely taking things up a notch to fuel the ecosystem with YouTube ads. So, I'm going to keep going through the training. I'm going to get more and more active in the community. We'll get these ads up and running using Brian's strategies. And my goal is to ultimately use that to grow my inner circle and a couple of the other programs that we run. And if you guys find this interesting, I can do some updates along the way, let you know how it's all going, what I'm liking, what I'm seeing, what I'm not liking, all that kind of stuff. And you might get some value from that along the way. Okay. Couple of final thoughts. I know this is really going to help in terms of simplifying, right? I know it's going to help in driving brand and product growth with YouTube ads. It's going to accelerate that ecosystem and the compound effect, the lead flow diversification that I was really pushing for. Grow my network and connections, right? There's 180 people in there, and they're growing it every day up to 360. So, this is the funny thing about investing in programs like this, right? Like people will see this number. Some people will see this number and they'll freak out, right? One good, you could have no content in there. There could be no calls, right? 180 people going up to 360. One good connection, one good business connection out of that, and you can cover that 10, 100 times over, right? I'm part of a mastermind with Travis Sago, as I've mentioned before. I've developed some great connections out of that. People who I'm pretty confident I'll work with at some point in the future, like we'll JV, right? It makes the investment a no-brainer. So what I'd encourage you to do is start thinking about these investments with a slightly different lens other than just like the absolute. Obviously you need to be able to afford it, but don't be scared to spend money, because the ways that you can get an ROI, there's so many different opportunities, right? So I think it's going to be great for that. And then ultimately, as I mentioned, I think it'll make me a more valuable leader for my people as I continue to develop a wider breadth of skills, strategies, experience, resources, which in turn helps my clients, which helps our ecosystem keep growing. Okay, this probably ran a little bit longer than I wanted, but is what it is. Hopefully you took something out of that. They're my initial thoughts. Hopefully that illuminated some stuff for you. If you've been thinking about joining, you can hit me up in the comments with any questions or whatever, and I'll hit you back. But I'll make some more videos in this as the year rolls along and as I go deeper and deeper into the content, become part of the community, and we'll see how it all comes together. I appreciate you checking out this video. Head over to jacobcaris.com if you want more information about what we do, and I will talk to you all in the next video. Have a great day. Cheers.